John Filan, let's talk some specifics of this plan. Let's start with the $300 per child tax credit. It is going to be paid for by securitizing the tobacco company settlements. First, define what this securitizing means, and then explain how this is going to spur economic stimulus.
Okay, I will, but I'd like to respond to Governor Edgar's comments, and I think a couple of things he would agree with that we've done. We have reduced the size of the payroll in the state from 69,000 in 2002 to 55,000 today. That's a much smaller government than we were left with by Governor Ryan, and a much smaller government when Governor Edgar was in office. We've also reduced the state debt. If you look at the official records, the bonded debt of the state has gone down the last 2 years by over $1 billion. The last time bonded debt went down in the state was under Governor Edgar, 1997. That's the last time that happened. But it's never happened to go down 2 years in a row. Those are two strong steps of fiscal discipline, and we work with Treasurer Giannoulias' office quite a bit and met with the Treasurer frequently and his staff to go through all the aspects of debt management.
Then why are we still in the state that we are in, if we are among the most indebted states in the nation?
Well, I think.
Well, let me get
sure.
the Treasurer to just.
And again, I think, as both Mr. Fallon and Governor Edgar have alluded to, we have to look at the long-term outlook. And you know, you're talking about securitization of the tobacco settlement, for example. You know, it's a long-term revenue, long-term income-generating revenue stream. Same thing with the lottery. And unless you can, you know, make sure you replace it with a workable, sustainable payment mechanism, it's not always.
Well, we still don't have a definition for securitizing. Tell us, those of us that aren't in the accounting trade, what it means.
Well, securitization, I think, you know, we are getting tobacco settlements all the way until 2025.
Yeah, it's really indefinite.
And, you know,
we're getting annual payments from that settlement.
Correct. And it's sort of like, you know, getting a one-time payment now and not receiving that revenue going forward, which again, you know, depending, other states have done it, so I think that's one of the outlooks that the administration has had, not to speak for the administration, but again, you face the same challenge of you're getting rid of a revenue to help pay for a one-time $300 per family payout, and that's my concern.
Governor Edgar, your take on this particular plan, the securitization.
Well, I have to say, I never had the luxury of having the tobacco money coming in when I was governor. I wish I'd had that. But again, I think you've got to be very careful when you do have a reliable source of revenue that you kind of take a chance on jeopardizing that for a one-time spending program. Now, I think the capital program is very much needed. And I think there can be different points of view on how much ought to be in that capital program. But I think we have to find a mechanism to fund that is kind of consistent. And again, I would be afraid of jeopardizing a stream of revenue that you can have for many, many years. Same philosophy on the lottery that worries me too.
Well, John Filan, let's get back to this $300 per child tax credit, which we still haven't addressed in details. How will this spur either the economy or bring about a more fiscally sound budget?
Well, I think clearly the question really is how could we not do it in this economy? The Republicans and Democrats in Congress came together and passed that tax credit, and we also know Washington has budget challenges as well, but they unified that and came together. We're suggesting doing the very same thing here, is double the stimulus credit here in Illinois for families. The governor's proposing that to help families in Illinois so that we get $300 additional per child. So between the federal commitment and the state commitment, it'd be $600 per child. That's money they can spend on tuition, money they can spend on clothing, money they can spend on getting through this difficult economy where people are not getting wage increases or are losing their jobs. And I think that's part of the governor's job. Basically,
do you believe that this is a good idea? Is that where it's going to be spent?
That would not be my priority. I'd be more apt to say we ought to pay our Medicaid bills more timely, because that helps people who really are in need. And my fear is if we don't, we're going to see some of those providers say we're not going to take Medicaid patients. And I worry about those types of programs that we already have on the books that I think aren't being funded properly. Those ought to be the first priority. Now, if we decide the $300 credit's more important than some of these Medicaid programs, then those that we can, and we're limited on what we can eliminate, then maybe they do that. But I would rather be more concerned about helping those who are truly needy with medical care than adding on a new program.